This is my step-by-step sourdough recipe and process to get loaves like these. Gather all your tools and ingredients and then get your active bubbly starter. I like to feed mine the night before I mix up my dough so that in the morning it's ready to go. Grab your scale in your large bowl and add in 100 grams of active starter and 375 grams of water. And then take your bowl off your scale before you mix it up because you could break your scale if you mix it on top. That has happened to me. Mix that up until the starter has all dissolved and it's nice and foamy like this, and then add it back to your scale, set it to 0 grams, and add 500 grams of bread flour and 11 grams of salt. Mix that all up until you get a nice shaggy dough. I like to scrape the sides to kind of get the flour and dough off the edges. And then I just give the dough a little mix with my hands to make sure everything's completely incorporated, and then you're going to get a wet tea towel and cover it for 1 hour. After your dough has sat for an hour, you're going to go in with wet hands and perform your first set of stretch and folds. I like to do a classic stretch and fold for my first round, so you're just going to grab the dough, stretch it up, and then fold it back on top of itself. And you're going to do this a total of 4 times for this first round. So stretch it up, fold it on top of itself, do a quarter turn with your bowl each time, and then stretch it up, fold it on top of itself. Then cover and let it sit for 30 minutes, and then you're going to perform the same thing again. So stretch it up, fold it on top of itself, quarter turn with your bowl, same thing 4 times. You're going to perform this process 4 times total. So stretch and fold, sit for 30 minutes, stretch and fold, sit for 30 minutes, 4 times. For the last 2 rounds of stretch and folds, you're really going to start to see your dough coming together. It's not going to stretch as far, and you're really going to see the strength in the dough starting to form. I like to sort of perform a coil fold for my last 2 rounds, which is just basically lifting it and setting it on top of itself. Since the dough has gotten a lot more strength, it's not really going to let you do a normal stretch and fold like you did for your first 2 rounds. So coil folds are perfect for the last 2 rounds. You just lift it and set it on top of itself. You basically just pick it up, lift it, let it hang, and fold it right back on top of itself, just like that. After we perform all of our stretch and folds, we're going to cover our dough and let it sit. I typically let my dough sit for 4 to 6 hours on the counter. My home is about 72 to 76 degrees during the day, so that will vary depending on the temperature of your home, but I have found that 4 to 6 hours is typically the sweet spot. After the bulk fermentation process on the counter, we're going to do our shaping. So you're basically going to start by stretching out your dough, and then you're going to fold it into itself, roll it up, and then start your shaping process. For this loaf, we're just doing like a classic round. So you're going to just roll it up and then start to push it forward and then bring it back sort of in the shape of a candy cane. And you're just going to repeat that process until your ball of dough is nice and tight. I like to sprinkle my dough with some flour and also the inside of my proofing basket. Grab your bench scraper and then flip the dough over. Then we're just going to try to tighten it up a little bit. So you basically are just bringing the dough in and pinching it together like this. Sprinkle the top of your dough with flour, and then you're going to cover and put in the fridge overnight. It's the next morning and we're going to bake. Start by putting your Dutch oven in the oven and preheating to 500 degrees. Lay out your parchment paper and dust with flour, and then dump your dough that's been proofing onto the parchment paper. Dust the top with flour again so our design can really come to life. And you're going to go ahead and do 1 deep score in your dough. And then for fun, I like to do just a simple design. So you could do something just like this, which is a simple wheat design. This is the fun part because you can kind of experiment with different designs and just see how it turns out after you take it out of the oven. Grab your preheated Dutch oven, and we're going to set our dough inside and add some ice cubes. I usually do around 4 ice cubes. Put the lid back on and bake at 500 degrees for 20 minutes. Then lower to 475 for another 20 to 25 minutes, and it's going to turn out like this. Ovens vary, but I found that this temperature and timing range for me always turns out great. And here is the big reveal. The key to this recipe is really knowing your bulk fermentation time, and I found that the 4 to 6 hour range really works best for me. Let me know if you give this a try.